G'day, g'day, g'day. Mathematical KM here. Remember their initials, not a title. Keith Mullumby. Weighing in at 14.16 in round 4 of the Canberra Chess Club Championships. Playing John Dixon. We're both on 1.5 out of 3. And that's 100 points uphill, weighing in at 15.15. So let's see how we go. And we have the black pieces as well. So let's see how we go. Pretty standard. He's claiming the centre with that pawn. We fianchetto. Okay, as in Solomon's course, and I'll be sure to put a link in the description. Whenever a bishop comes out on that sort of a line, that is the move you will played. Of course, the computer doesn't like it, but not to worry, computer doesn't know our plans. Okay, I'm not sure if the computer knows John's plans either, but we'll see how we go. Next one out in the middle. Starting to look a little more standard. I mean, that's well and truly protected by three pieces, queen, bishop and knight. The e-pawn, however, is currently protected by nothing. Of course, we haven't got our fianchetto there yet. He castles. We work on getting our fianchetto. He puts a protector onto the pawn and develops his queen at the same time. We have got one piece on the pawn. He's got his queen protecting it and a knight protecting it. We get the h6 move in, the prophylaxis, keeping knights and bishops out. Interesting, he's slamming down that b4 pawn, and we come in with the a6, which is keeping the bishop out, and if the pawn comes forward, we can Lego fit it. So this is, we've got the full thick-skinned hippo. And we need to take a look at which of white's pawns is weaker, and various plans of attack. In the end, the D pawn is protected by three pieces, one of which is a pawn. And the E pawn currently has only 2 defenders. And his king is also castled kingside. So if I can get all of my vague plan here was try and win an E or a D pawn, hopefully E pawn. Try and lock up all of the pawns on the queen side and have a kingside pawn and piece storm, hopefully checkmate. So let's see how we go. And at this point I've also noticed that this knight can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. Or rather, h4 is its only sort of escape square were we to get a pawn there. So trapping that knight, but also getting stuff out, focusing on that e-pawn. But wouldn't be the first time we'd trapped a knight with a pawn attack. So, let's go. We bring the g-pawn out. Okay, he's brought that one across. He's now got 1, 2, 3 pieces protecting his d-pawn, but just for right now, and he was giving himself a square for this knight. Maybe he noticed it was in a little bit of danger as well. But his e-pawn's only got the one protector, and we've got the one attacker. And now we have got 2 attackers on that pawn. It's only got the one defender. It's now got 2 defenders. Now, I'll be the first to admit I got a little lucky with a couple of things that weren't super clear in the position, and this will be one of them. Bit of a mistake. Look at that eval, because it's not an obvious blunder, but there is one right move in this position, and then 0.7, 0.6, the standard unchanged. E5 would have been a beautiful move for John to play at this point. And looking at it now, locking it into the brain, it's something to watch out for. Realising that a pawn push can give you a discovered attack and a pawn attack. What are you going to do? You can't move one to protect the other. Knights don't work that way when they're next to each other. So let's just... that wasn't the move to play. Castling would have been probably a much better idea, and it's put in there. And if not castling, the rook A to... Now, let's go back one. Castling, or knight to D7, or knight to H5. But not, being aware of that discovered attack if I have anything except what I did do. However, we got away with it. Bit of a miss, swing and a miss. Now, I've brought this knight in. It's threatening one of the defenders of that E-pawn. And if he takes it, then we get the dark bishop off for a knight. And then I can probably play with protecting that pawn as needed. He's coming forward with his D-pawn. All that firepower, aiming at the king and the queen. I can see how that's considered a miss. And I'm about to lock it up, and it'll stay locked up. So, too many points for John if he watches this video. B times F4 is best, because that even, it's less stuff between that rook and my king. They like knight times D3, just getting rid of that defender straight away. But anyway, I've locked it up. I am going with that plan of trying to attack on the king side and locking it all up on the centre of the board and the queen side. And it's at this point, this piece is not much chop, biting on granite. And the plan is pin the knight to the rook, and with a bit of luck, if we can take that knight while he has to damage the pawn structure in front of his king to take back. So that's the current little small plan. So it's the best move apparently. He's moved his king, it's an inaccuracy. Wants me to castle, but I've now got that set up so I can take that knight, and at the moment the only piece that can take back is that g-pawn. I did have a bit of a think here, and it's interesting. Can I take the knight? Probably. I played g times f4. Apparently that's better than bishop takes, because I've got this lovely pawn chain and he won't have a dark bishop once I do that. And he's got to find the right resource to stop me from taking the knight and mucking his pawn chain up. So I've taken it. And c4. Interesting that c4 was best, because I would have taken that and he would have had to have gone back. I like what he did, the inaccuracy. So he can take my bishop with his rook and keep his pawn structure. But I've moved my knight out of the way, freeing up an f5 move. Thinking about getting this bishop to here and playing, and then bringing in more. I'll have the bishop and a knight going on that pawn. It's currently only protected by one rook, and the bishop's also lined up on the same diagonal as a rook and a queen. It's encouraging me to move the bishop, which I've always been planning on getting it here. That's a little bit misplaced that knight, and I think it'll stay misplaced for most of the game. And computer likes lining the bishop up, pinning the pawn to the rook and the queen, and the pawn can't move. Let's see if I can do anything with that and maybe win that e-pawn. It's not the first time it's asked for c4, maybe c4, c5. And f3 is a mistake. Maybe it's a mistake, but I can see the planning. The planning is if I come with the f5, he wants to be able to take back with a pawn. Castling was best, getting another piece lined up on that. I can maybe see that. But for now, if he takes with the pawn, I can take back with the bishop, and then the bishop's lined up on the rook and the queen. So really, he can't afford to take with the pawn. Except that e times f5 was best. Interesting times. Thinking about not a bad square for the bishop, and if that comes forward, it's protected by a pawn. I can take back very close to his king. So trying to infiltrate with my dark bishop, which wasn't up to too much at that point in time. Very manoeuvring game. c4 been requested several times, and it's the best move. Okay, it's excellent. And they wanted a5. The computer really wants these pawns to fight it out on the queen side. I'm happy for as long as they don't, and lock it up when they do. So I've got the bishop lined up on the rook. The rook's only got... If he wants the rook to stay lined up on that e-pawn, that's the only square. And it's considered a mistake. Rook to b1. Again, the computer wanting the queen side fight for white, for counterplay. And I guess that makes a lot of sense. White doesn't want all the play to be around that king. Alright. Knight to f6 was best. Now, okay, I just thought I'd get this rook lined up on that. But I already do have in my mind, computer, yes. Check, forking bishop and rook. So, computer wanted me to start it already, but I've moved the rook behind the bishop first. Considered a miss. Okay, now this is, I got away with another little one here. So John, have a look at this. I didn't get in my brain immediately the full import of removing that rook. Because if you want to look at it not from black attacking, but from white attacking, he's got the pawn and the queen. He's got two pieces attacking my second f-pawn here. I've only got the one defender. So truly, like queen g5 would do it. Queen to f6 would do it. I need a second defender on that pawn, and I need it now because of that rook going across. And sorry to admit, but eyes on that attacking plan again, and not good. I should have brought the queen into g5 and then come across. So that was a mistake, and he can win that pawn. So not the end of the world, but that would be the best move. And he instead plays a miss, and winning the pawn was the best, swinging it back to a white edge. I've noticed, and what they want, knight to h5. Knight to h5, I'd still be losing that pawn. But they're saying if you started doing this, you might as well finish it, maybe? But regardless, I have gone queen d7. So I now have the two pieces protecting my second pawn. He's trying to get some more pieces near his king, because he can feel the attack coming, I'm guessing. It's a great move. It was part of a planned sequence of events with that knight coming in there. If it comes in with check, it's automatically win a rook. So, and John has obviously seen this coming. And now when the knight comes in, it doesn't come in with check. It still comes in, it's still best. It is forking a bishop and a rook. The rook moves. Now, any knight move at all is going to give me a discovered attack from the bishop on that rook. But also, we have displaced some of the defenders. The queen's moved on its own. The bishop's gone. The rook has moved. What's that pawn got left defending itself, that poor old e-pawn? Two defenders, not bad, but 1, 2, 3 attackers. And when I say 3 attackers, we don't want to go immediately because the pawn could take us. But if I do get to use this knight, as well as taking on e4, it's setting up that attack. So we pull the trigger. They wanted king f8 at that point. Interesting. Anyway, we've grabbed. He's played his best possible move. It's still edged to black, but taken back. And let's see, I've gone with the knight, and it is best, because the rook is now under threat by the bishop. If he were to take the knight, I could take the rook with check. He'd take back with his king, and then I'd take his knight, and would be ending up in front on all of that. And that was still computer-like night times, having that sequence of events happen more. I think it's very human to want to keep the rook, which moving the rook to here does achieve. But let's get the knights off. I mean, at this point, I've really swapped into this e-pawn. No other pawn can hassle it. It's got a path through. And the f-pawn might even be able to give an assist. We have 4v4 here, and these two have almost got a clear path. This one a totally clear path. The f-pawn could be hassled by the g-pawn, but if I can swap off all of the material so it's just the kings and the pawns, I think I'll win this with the e-pawn. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. I mean, yeah, maybe I'll get a checkmate. I've got a lot of stuff, a lot of pieces around his king. But trading when possible is... And I was thinking vaguely about trying to pin the rook to the queen, but it's a two-move type thing. He's not going to... That one, don't play hope chess. So, king to f8. Come with the king because it's coming into the end game was better. But I finally brought the other rook. I'm going to bring all the pieces across and try and swap all the pieces off. And then, yes, I guess I am trying to bring my king over to help these pawns. And it can't go through this square. So king to f8, well, yeah, it is one and a bit better. Oh, there's another lesson learned. But the most important thing here is getting both the rooks, both the bishops are going quite well. That piece is terrible. I think my pieces are better, and I've certainly got the better pawn structure. So he's trying to develop that bishop, and I did notice the cheapie, as Simon Williams would call it. Do we want to let him pin the queen to the king? Almost in a way, yes, because we can block with the bishop and then swap the bishops off. But better, sidestep anyway. Bishop comes anyway to threaten the queen. Played there. Let's see, this is move 36, just for those who are interested. He's down to 10 minutes and I've got 26 minutes. But he had a 3-minute think about the move now, because I think he can feel that if all the pieces come off but the pawns don't change, that black probably wins. But in the end, and that was excellent, but it's a couple of pieces off the board. Now knight f3 is good. C5, what's c5? He should have gone for the counterplay and tried to make it about my king. I can see that. But certainly knight f3. Well, I guess queen takes h3 was on the cards regardless, because the pawn is pinned. And that knight is pinned to that rook. Now, he thought he was going to be swapping the fairly poor knight for a fairly strong bishop by taking the bishop. And it's at this late stage that now, with the far superior pawns that are, at least worth a piece on their way through, and with a queen and two rooks versus a queen, a rook and a knight, it's plus 5.3. John was feeling it, and he resigned. So that's a good win with the black pieces, uphill 100 points on the player ratings, and quite an interesting game. Did a lot of things right, but I also got away with... Should have lost this pawn, but didn't. And a little bit earlier, that gave a chance for a super move for white, which I'm lucky was not found. Go to the highlights, 72 to 78.4. So, wasn't 91. There were a few things I got away with. So, in the end, to be, 6.5 points higher. I do like that. The great move was really, that knight went from here to here and it was always going there. Why they picked that particular part of the sequence to be great, yep, chess.com knows. And 1950 to 1650. In the opening, my opponent played 92.2 and I played 92.3. There you go. Go the water horse. 66 to 75. So at the end of the day, it was a pretty thematic. Use your normal Hippo plans to win a central pawn. You might need to distract some of the defenders to do it. And then with that skeletal structure pawn advantage, take it to the end game that you're going to win with the pawns. And that was very much how that game was going. Until right at the end a few things went wrong. Even more wrong, I should say, for white. Alright, that's it. I think game 81 in my folder of Hippo games from the year of the Waterhorse. Please comment what openings you think 2026 should be for the mathematical KM. This year's been the year of the Hippo. What would you like to see next year? Okay, comment, like, subscribe, but comment openings you think I might like to play next year. Okay, bye for now.